I was waiting for my train in Rome when an American man stomped up to the ticket counter and shouted, "2 tickets!" "No, TWO tickets." The clerk blinked, confused, like he'd just been asked to solve a math problem in a foreign language. The man turned to his wife and grumbled, "They just don't understand us." Meanwhile, everyone around, tourists, locals, even a stray dog, kept walking by, perfectly calm. That's when I realized, loud English doesn't make the world clearer. It just makes you louder. I was sitting in a cafe in Florence when an American woman suddenly shouted across the counter, "Do you speak English?" The barista smiled politely and answered, "Yes, a little." She sighed, "No, I mean properly. American English." When he didn't respond right away, she repeated, louder this time, "American English. Do you understand?" She wasn't rude, just firmly convinced that shouting somehow bridges language gaps. He handed her a cappuccino, and she said, "Finally, communication." Except it wasn't hers, it was mine. A British tourist once leaned over to me in Prague and whispered, "You can always spot the Americans. Just close your eyes and follow the trail of confusion." At a ticket booth, a Texan man was yelling, "Hello! 2 tickets. No, not dos. TWO. He seemed to think spelling it out louder would help diplomacy. The Czech clerk stared at him like he'd just encountered an alien who believed volume equaled intelligence. The man turned to his wife, frustrated. "They just don't want to understand us." Typical. In London, an American complained to her hotel receptionist, "You people mumble too much. If you spoke English like Americans, it would make sense." The receptionist, calm and precise in perfect received pronunciation, replied, "Madam, we invented it." She blinked. "No offense, but you really didn't." For some Americans traveling abroad, English isn't just a language. It's a birthright. They don't simply speak it. They expect the world to bend around it. When the reply isn't instant, they assume ignorance, never questioning that maybe they're the confusing ones. In Tokyo, an American at a sushi bar shouted, "Spicy tuna roll." "Spicy. TUNA." The chef smiled politely. "We don't have spicy roll." Undeterred, the man clapped each syllable like punctuation. "SPICY. TUNA." Calmly, the chef said, "Sir, this is Japan, not LA." The man nodded, oblivious. "Oh, so you call it something else here." At Charles de Gaulle Airport, a woman argued with the gate agent, "Why are you speaking French? This is international airspace." The agent explained gently they were still in France. She persisted, "Yeah, but English is the global language, honey. You're just being difficult." The agent smiled, handed her a pamphlet in French and said, "Welcome to the world." In Athens, an American couple walked into a shop, asking for Greek yogurt. The shopkeeper blinked. "All our yogurt is Greek." The husband got flustered. "No, we want the real kind. You know? American Greek style on the tub." He didn't realize he was literally in the country that invented it. Frustrated, he shouted, "Your marketing is confusing. Loud English isn't just about words. It's about ownership. It's the unspoken belief that the world was designed in English, and other languages are just optional skins. Speak loud enough, and the world is supposed to switch off. In Paris, an American tried buying aspirin at a pharmacy. When the pharmacist didn't understand immediately, he acted out the pain, pointing to his head, groaning dramatically, yelling, "Pain!" Like this. "OWWW?" The pharmacist, alarmed, thought he was having a stroke, and eventually handed him a thermometer. He sighed, "These people are hopeless." In Madrid, an American fumed because his server didn't understand. "Water, no ice." He repeated louder, "No ice. Ice bad. No ice." When that failed, he pantomimed, shivering. The server brought him hot tea. He nearly cried. In Cancun, a woman kept shouting, "I want chicken tacos." The waiter calmly answered, "Yes, polo tacos." She glared, "No chicken. I don't eat foreign meat." Here's the paradox. The louder they speak English, the less anyone understands them. And the more they believe that proves the world is broken. In Rome, an American asked, "Go coffee?" The barista said, "We drink here." The man leaned closer. "No, two. Go." The barista smiled. "Where?" He snapped, "Forget it. I'll take my business somewhere more international." And stormed out with the wrong cup. In Bangkok, a tourist used a translation app to ask for extra napkins. The app mistranslated it to "more children." The waiter panicked. The American, thinking he wasn't understood, yelled, "Napkins! Naapkins!" The waiter ran for the manager. In Berlin, a woman shouted at a museum clerk, "Why isn't anything in English? Don't you want tourists?" Calmly, the clerk said, "Madam, you are standing in our history museum. We speak German here." She crossed her arms. "Well, maybe that's why no one visits." Behind her, the line was full of German tourists. Loud English doesn't translate. It colonizes. It storms into rooms assuming comprehension is owed, not earned. In Lisbon, a man shouted at his taxi driver, "Change song! English music." The driver smiled, nodding, thinking he said, "Thank you." The tourist yelled louder, "English song, not Portuguese." The driver, still smiling, turned up the volume. The man gave up. In Stockholm, an American entered a cafe. "Do you have normal coffee? Not this Scandi foam stuff." Calmly, the barista replied, "We have black coffee." She frowned. "No, regular. Like Starbucks." He handed her black coffee. She sipped, grimaced, whispered, "Tastes foreign." In Osaka, an American pressed the wrong elevator button and shouted, "Why doesn't this say lobby in English? How do people live like this?" A Japanese man quietly pointed to the kanji for ground. The American said, "Yeah, that's what I said. Ground. In English." Here's the truth. The world doesn't hate Americans. It hates being treated like a language problem. Because when you reduce a country to how easily it understands you, you're not traveling. You're broadcasting. In Seville, a woman pointed at a silencio sign. "Oh, that's nice." They named the church. Then she proceeded to call her sister on speakerphone. When the guard gestured for quiet, she yelled, "It's okay. I'm Christian." At a front desk in Vietnam, a man yelled at the receptionist, "Why can't you just spell your name in normal letters?" She smiled, "These are normal here." He rolled his eyes. "You people make everything harder than it needs to be." An American stormed into a cafe. "Where's your bathroom?" The waiter said, "Toilet. Down the hall." She frowned. "That's disgusting. Why call it that?" He shrugged, "Because that's what it is." In Buenos Aires, an American shouted, "You people speak weird Spanish." The local replied, "We speak Argentine Spanish." He scoffed, "No such thing. Spanish is Spanish. My friend took it in high school." At a train station in Switzerland, an American man asked a conductor, "When's the next train to Switzerland?" The conductor blinked. "Sir, you are in Switzerland." The man sighed. "No. I mean the main part. The English-speaking one. When your only language is loud English, you don't notice how quiet the world gets when it's not centered on you. Travel is meant to expand your perspective, not echo your accent. If you leave home, thinking everyone else is hard to understand, maybe the problem wasn't their language at all. In Kyoto, a middle-aged American leaned over the sushi counter and yelled, "Hey, which one is the California roll?" The chef bowed politely. "No California roll. Traditional sushi." The man frowned. "You're missing out, buddy. That's the real stuff." When the chef didn't respond, he shouted again, "California roll." Everyone in the restaurant turned to stare. The chef smiled softly. "California is far." At a Moroccan bazaar, an American woman shouted, "How much is this?" The vendor named the price in dirhams. She yelled back, "Oh, real money. Dollars." When he shook his head, she got louder. America money! Finally, the vendor nodded. Yes, I know America money. No thank you. At a small cafe, a woman bellowed, "One large latte, almond milk." The barista smiled. Sorry, no almond. She leaned forward. Almond, like nut, small tree. The barista blinked. We have soy milk. She sighed dramatically. Hug. How do you people survive? Everyone in the cafe understood her perfectly and ignored her completely. In Rio, an American man tried ordering food from a beach vendor. The vendor spoke Portuguese. The man said slowly, I want burger. The vendor shook his head. The man got louder. Burger. Cow. Fire. The vendor brought him grilled cheese on a stick. He looked at it. Finally. They get me. Volume isn't communication, it's compensation. Every decibel hides the same fear. If you don't understand me, maybe I don't belong here. But the tragedy is, the louder they get, the less anyone wants to listen. In Bali, a tourist demanded pancakes. The waiter said, We have banana pancakes. She shouted, No, normal pancakes. He smiled. These are normal in Bali. She pointed at his notepad, as if casting a spell. Pancakes. American style. He nodded. Yes? Balinese style. Also round. Also food. A man jumped into a taxi. Take me to the big hotel. The driver asked, Which one, sir? He shouted louder. The big hotel. When the driver didn't move, he groaned. You people act like you don't want business. There are over 400 hotels in Hong Kong named Grand or Big. He picked the wrong one. In Chiang Mai, a monk gestured for silence in a temple. An American, on a video call, said, It's fine, he doesn't understand English. The monk smiled softly, bowed, whispered, Respect doesn't need translation. The man turned back to his phone. Anyway, babe, this monk just told me something inspirational. In Cuba, a tourist asked for a haircut. The barber spoke Spanish. The man pointed to his head. Short. Cut. Now. The barber shrugged and gave him a perfect Cuban fade. The man looked horrified. This isn't American style. The barber smiled. Welcome to Cuba. There's something almost poetic about loud English filling silence. It isn't arrogance, it's fear masquerading as confidence. A desperate attempt to control a world that no longer runs on your rules. On a train in Warsaw, a man shouted into his phone, Why does nobody here speak normal? A Polish grandmother quietly said, We all speak normal, maybe you don't. He didn't hear her. Or maybe he did, and turned up the volume to drown her out. At the pyramids, a woman yelled at her guide, I can't hear you over your accent. He smiled. That's because you're making the noise. She laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. In Mexico City, a tourist shouted at a clerk, Where's the exit? The clerk pointed, Salida. She frowned. No. I said exit. When he pointed again, she yelled louder, No. Exit. Not salad. During a safari briefing, an American interrupted the guide repeatedly, Can you speak English more American? The guide replied, Sir, I learned English from the British. The man laughed. Well, maybe that's your problem. Then he asked if lions understand commands in English. Every time someone yells in English abroad, they teach the world one truth: they came to see the world, not understand it. The quieter travelers, the ones who listen, come home fluent in humanity. An American yelled at a subway announcement in Korean, Why don't they say this in English too? A teenage girl nearby said softly, They just did, you talked over it. A man at a food stall shouted, Eno spicy! The vendor nodded, smiled, and gave him a mild dish. He took a bite and screamed, This is spicy! The vendor shrugged, For you, maybe. In a Prague cafe, a woman waved the bill and shouted, This is too much. The waiter calmly replied, Service not included. she barked. What service? He smiled, perfectly. Loud English is more than sound. It's a mirror, reflecting the loudest parts of a culture that confuses confidence with clarity. Language isn't volume. It's listening, patience, rhythm. And maybe that's why silence, true, curious silence, is the most foreign language of all.